He paused and he said, "I'd love to see you." And that was my constant craving, to be needed, to be wanted. I knew it was the 5 words, not the powerful 3, but I reasoned maybe after that weekend, we could go from "I'd love to see you" to "I love you." It was 1984, and I was a senior at Ohio State. Dave and I had dated the year before, but he had graduated, accepted a job in Minneapolis, moved away. But we started making plans for the weekend. He said that he could pay for a flight from Chicago to Minneapolis if I could drive from Columbus to Chicago. It was 6 hours, but I said I would. On a snowy January day, I got into my 1976 blue Mustang II and headed off to the Windy City. Now, I was this bit excited and this much fearful. For some reason, and I'll tell you why, at 22, I was panicked about what I was going to do in a few months with graduation. You see, I was the first person in my family to move away, to go to college. My grandmother got married at 17, my mother at 20. At 22, I felt old. And Dave seemed like the future. He seemed like that's where I needed to be. So as I kept driving through the snow, and by the time I got to Chicago, I had hatched this brilliant plan. We were gonna have a fabulous weekend. He was gonna fall in love with me, and we were gonna get married. The weekend was pretty fabulous. Lots of food, great sex. We went to the lakes, and then he surprised me. He got tickets to a musical, I Do, I Do. We sat there in the dark theater, shoulder to shoulder, our arms entwined. He leaned over and kissed me, and I thought, yes, this is where I'm supposed to be. And then the weekend was over. We were at the airport. He gave me this great big hug, and he said, "I loved seeing you." And I thought, well, we're 4 words. I got to Chicago, and I'm walking to baggage claim, and I'm like, nothing is looking familiar. So I went up to one of the gate clerks, and I said, "Where is the Midway terminal?" And she said, "Midway? That's the airport across town. You're in O'Hare." And I started to panic, because if you didn't live in 1984, imagine being in a foreign city with no credit cards, no ATM cards, no Venmo, no cell phone, no internet, just the money that you had in your purse. And I had only $60. I didn't have much money. I had enough money to get out of the parking lot, to buy the gas to get home, and probably not even enough for McDonald's. So as I got to baggage claim, I had no idea what to do. And I looked at this businessman guy standing beside me, and I thought, well, do you know how far Midway is? And he goes, "What's at Midway?" I said, "My car." And I explained. And then he yelled, "Hey, Stephen, after you drop me off downtown, will you take her over to Midway?" Stephen nods. It's his driver. 10 minutes later, I'm in a stretch limo headed to retrieve my Mustang II. Once I started the 6-hour drive back to Columbus, I just kept thinking, was I enough? Did I make a lasting impression on Dave? What was going to happen? I was worried about it that morning when he was in the shower, secretly went over and got some of my perfume and then put little dabs on his sheet. Just hoping that night, when he went to sleep, he would not only think of me, but smell me. And as I relive that story, it is embarrassing. But it's actually really sad that I was craving all this acceptance and love from others because I didn't know how to accept and love myself. So with the wisdom that comes from age and tons of therapy, I have learned that life is just way too short to look to other people to make you feel worthy. I have also learned to always check cities to see if they have 2 airports and be wary of men who make you drive 6 hours to get a flight from 2 different ones. And third, do not assume that people in limos are rich or famous. They could just be a broke girl who got a lucky break. Thank you.